Hello everybody, it's Nick here with Nick Tolman Music, and today we're going to talk about understanding the staff. Alright, so you probably just got your first guitar. Maybe you have a method book and it's trying to teach you how to read some notes, how to play some rhythms, do some basic things. But to be successful with that, we need to understand the staff and how it works. The musical staff is basically like our blank musical canvas on which we use to write and notate music. The staff is made up of lines and spaces, and it also contains other information to help guide us to understand what pitches and rhythms are intended to be played. The musical staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces, as you can see up here above. Generally, at the beginning of every staff, you will see some kind of symbol that we call a clef. Now, for the guitar, you don't have to really worry about that too much. You're always going to see this same symbol, which is called a treble clef. That is the clef that we read on when we read music on guitar. Some instruments use different clefs. They might use a bass clef, or a tenor clef, or an alto clef. Again, for guitar, we don't have to worry too much about that. We use the treble clef. Now, in the treble clef, the names of the lines are as follows: E, G, B, D, F. That's from bottom to top, the 5 lines. E, G, B, D, F. The way I like to remember that, and I always tell especially my guitar students, is I say, Elvis's guitar broke down Friday. Elvis's guitar broke down Friday. If you can remember that saying, you can remember the names of those notes on the lines. Elvis's guitar broke down Friday. On the treble clef, the lines will always be those notes. E, G, B, D, F. When you're in the treble clef, the names of the spaces on the staff spell the word face. F-A-C-E. From bottom to top, F-A-C-E. As you might have guessed already, notes can be found either on a line or on a space. It's important to pay attention to where they are at. Alright, so you might be asking yourself, well, that's not very many notes, right? We only have this many notes on the staff. Now, the reality is that the music staff goes infinitely above and below. You can have notes above the staff or below the staff, okay? Notes can continue to get higher and continue to get lower. When that happens, we use tools called ledger lines. Now, ledger lines are just basically mini lines that extend the staff and tell us how far up we're going. As you can see here, we might have notes that continue to work their way up the staff, right? So if you have a note sitting on the top line is F, right? Elvis's guitar broke down Friday, F. If the note then moves to directly above that, it would be G, the next letter in the musical alphabet. And then A, and then B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It goes on forever, right? But we use these ledger lines to help us determine where they're at. Ledger lines also go below as notes descend and get lower below the staff. Now, if you're new to playing the guitar, new to reading music, I wouldn't stress too much about this concept of ledger lines. Just know that that's something that you are going to come across in the future. For now, do your best to remember E, G, B, D, F. Elvis's guitar broke down Friday, and face. F-A-C-E. Alright? Now, another thing that you will very commonly, basically always see on the staff is what we call a time signature. Now, a time signature is telling us exactly how many beats or counts we're going to get in every measure on the staff. It's also going to tell us what kind of note is getting that beat, or what kind of note we are using to count that beat, okay? All right, so the most common time signature that you will see is 4/4 time, as you can see here. In 4/4 time, the top number is telling us, again, how many beats are in every measure. 4 beats. This is the most common time signature. In fact, sometimes we just call it common time, and we'll just put a C right there for common time rather than 4/4 time. That's why you always hear music 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because we have 4 beats in every measure. We've divided the music in that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, it's also really common you might see a 3 here, okay? So 3/4 time. There might only be 3 beats in measure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's perfectly okay. The bottom note is still 4 though, so that's telling us that a quarter note is getting the beat. This is the most common situation that you'll see, and then this is how we base most note values is off of this concept, okay, that a quarter note gets 1 beat. Quarter note gets the beat. Just know that you can see other things on the bottom. You may play music that has an 8 on the bottom, like 6/8 time. In this situation, an 8th note is actually what is getting the beat. And so you can be aware that that might change. For what you're going to be dealing with at the beginning stages of learning to read music, in almost every case, you're going to be dealing with a 4 on the bottom, which means that a quarter note gets the beat. All right, we've talked about the time signature. Something else that you might see on a staff, you might not see it early on, but eventually in your lessons, you're definitely going to see this. It's called a key signature. Now, a key signature is similar to its time signature, but essentially it's just setting the stage for the rest of the music that you're reading on that staff. It's telling you what key you are going to be playing in. Or in other words, what notes on the staff are going to be sharp or flat. For instance, if you see 1 sharp on the staff up here, it's going to be sitting on the F line. That means that whenever you play a note on that line, which is F, or any F, whether it's an F below or an F further below or F above, all the Fs you're going to play as F sharp rather than F. Now this key signature might have many sharps or many flats, and that's okay. But always pay attention to that, because if you don't, the music is not going to sound right, okay? Alright, so those are the basic things you're going to see at the beginning of the staff. Now another really important thing that you're going to see on the staff that you need to pay attention to is what is called bar lines. Now, bar lines are little vertical lines that separate the music as it goes along. Now, what determines when these bar lines happen goes back to the time signature, which we already talked about. That top number tells us how many beats are in every measure. So those bar lines are creating measures. If we're in 4/4 time, there's 4 beats in every measure. That means that every 4 beats, there's going to be a bar line that separates the measure and helps us to be able to visually see where that's taking place. So when you see these vertical lines, they're just bar lines. They're separating the music into measures. Now obviously there are a lot of other symbols and things like that that you might see on a staff, all of which you will learn about eventually and we can talk about in future videos. Today I just wanted to give you a very basic overview of what you can expect to see on the staff and kind of what some of these things mean. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. As always, please subscribe. If you enjoy this content today and want to see more of this content, please consider checking out my Patreon page and supporting Nick Tolman Music in that way. Thank you.